this since I upgraded. Good. No issues there. A little nervous about some of this stuff. When you do an OS upgrade, it's just like, have I forgot anything? All right, here we go, everybody. Let's start the show in 3, 2, 1.
Are you sorry, sir, that you brought your son along to see Alien?
No, ma'am. I think he should have seen it. It's something that he needs to know that things like that could happen in life. That could be a true story.
Did the movie scare you at all? Yes, ma'am, it did.
What happened to Nicole Kidman?
The Morning Stream. Maybe I can help you. I am Boba Fett.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TMS. It is the Morning Stream for October 7th. It's a Monday, 2024. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Brian Ibbett. Hi, Brian.
It is. Hello.
Hi. For most listeners, you never even saw us leave, but Brian was gone all weekend.
No.
He had a busy weekend, you know.
I did have a busy weekend. My goodness, so much stuff.
We need to
so
report.
Much stuff.
We need to report on that wedding first. Can you get into that and tell us how that went?
For sure. Yeah. So wedding, basically right after the show Thursday, did a little bit of work here at the house, and then had to get up to the mountains for this wedding. Gorgeous location. This place called the Inn at the Pines. Right off of I-70 at Genesee. If you're familiar with Denver, you know where Genesee is at. And just a really, really pretty. Just getting into the mountains. So you have some places right there in Genesee have this gorgeous view of the entire Denver metro area. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So
John
John
Goodman calls Genesee in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? When he's talking about the Bible.
Oh, does he?
Mm-hmm.
You call it Genesee?
Yeah. Said, I'll tell you what, I was reading Genesee, whatever he says, and so whenever I hear that, that's all I can hear. So I'll have to get used to your story, even though I'm thinking of John Goodman running around eating chicken. It'll be fine.
Well, it'll be the last time I mention Genesee anyway, because the wedding. Got up there and I, had been practicing and going through the stuff. We did the rehearsal and got all my nerves out then and thought, all right, cool, no problem. Gonna be a piece of cake. And it was, right? Got up at the top of the parking lot and then led the procession of the groom and then all the groomsmen and then all the bridesmaids down to the thing. And there was quite a bit of time where I was up on the it's not really a pulpit. There's not really, I guess it's a stage, even though it's the same level as everything else. But I'm up in front of the all the attendants, and I'm calm. I'm like, all right, so excited to do this. But nobody's told my heart to be calm. And so my heart is like up in my throat. I'm like, well, this is weird. I'm totally feeling calm, but why? Like, I'm doing deep breaths. Let's see if I can get the heart rate down, whatever.
Sure.
But basically was able to ad-lib a couple things and had the audience laughing, or not laughing, but like chuckling, because obviously the stars of the show are the bride and groom, and I'm not taking any of their showcase away, their spotlight away.
Sure.
But definitely had a great time doing it, and did well. They're still married, so at least the stuff I did worked, and those two still married, and 3 days later.
So we didn't have some kind of rom-com situation where they were left at the altar and some other guy burst in and.
Yeah, no, and I didn't do that. I left out. There's a lot of things that I left out of the pronouncement, like I'm not going to do the whole, if anybody has any reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. Nobody ever wants that in there.
I've never seen it in a real wedding, not even once.
Right? No, it's always the joke, TV weddings, movie weddings, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Elaine.
Yeah.
But then you've also got the honor and obey. Obviously, that gets left out. Mm-hmm. That's silly. But no, I didn't even have kind of the traditional, like, in sickness and in health, in riches and in poor, or richer and poorer, blah blah blah. Yeah. I had a whole different thing written up, and they loved it, and everybody kept coming up to me during the reception and saying that was great, that was awesome. Tristan asked me if I would do his when the time comes.
Nice.
Apparently, this was kind of an audition, and I didn't know about it.
Oh, they were They were going to see how you did.
They
before
wanted to see.
asked.
They wanted to see how I did, and then they were going to kind of decide from there. So
Sure. I like
yeah.
that.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Done. Check mark off the list there, and then stayed out really late that night at the reception because we wanted to dance with everybody and have a good time. And then at 4:00 in the morning, after 3.5 hours of sleep, we got driven to the airport by crazy neighbor to catch a 6:30 a.m. flight to Atlanta, where we met up with.
That's why I was going to ask
Amy.
you if you ended up sleeping at all, or if you just like pushed through.
We slept. I slept because Tina needed to sleep. Tina can't sleep on planes. She can't sleep in cars. So I knew that she was going to have to sleep, and I didn't want to try and be make any accidental noise in the other room that would have interrupted the little sleep that she got.
Yeah. I mean, you can if you're only going to get 3 hours, you'll take 3 hours. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So met up with Chuck and Amy and the Duceys and Matt from BC, and then they drove us to Savannah. 3.5 hours in the car to Savannah. Stopped at a Buc-ee's along the way.
Yeah.
Got pecans. I had so many pecans on this trip, Scott. So at Buc-ee's we got their glazed and roasted pecans, which are sweet. And we're trying to figure out, well, they're made in Georgia. Are they Georgia pecans? And then we realized, well, Buc-ee's is headquartered in Texas. So these could just as easily be Texas pecans.
Sure.
So no benefit there. But then we got some roasted and salted ones. We got some raw Georgia pecans. I had pecan encrusted French toast yesterday morning. I had pecan crusted fried chicken on
Jeez, you really were in
Saturday
pecan
night.
country. I didn't realize it was that
Yeah.
pervasive of a nut down there.
I know, it really is. And went and got some Gophers. Got 2 big boxes of Gophers when we were walking around. It must have been Friday night. And the large box of milk chocolate Gophers, no idea what happened to those. Like somebody, and that was a pound of milk chocolate Gophers. I grabbed the dark chocolate Gophers and brought it over. We had 2 separate rooms in the same building with like 5 bedrooms in each one. So we had the whole place loaded up.
Yeah.
And Dunaway friggin' rocked it. He made sure both rooms had plenty of retro video games on the TV. Like both TVs had their own systems of video games. He brought a separate setup with his giant Atari fight stick joystick thing that has buttons and a roller ball and all that stuff.
Can't get those anymore. I tried. They're awesome.
No, I know. And yeah, you can retropie those things so that they play 1,000 games. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Ben, Brian Cofford. Finally got to meet Audra.
Nice.
His forever fiance. She is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Oh
she
my
is
God.
so much better his half. You know what I mean?
She absolutely is.
Also, you know what? She's his better 2/3. Take that, rest of the world. Take that, Dunaway.
Yeah. Of course, Natalie, September, and Rob. Shane was there, but had to leave a little bit early. Unfortunately, had to leave on Saturday, so we missed we did a ghost tour of Savannah on a tram that was hosted by a dude who in his other life is an Elvis impersonator, so he did grace us with a little bit of Are You Lonesome Tonight? Tonda and Hondo, we had both of those guys at the same place.
Yeah.
It was like a Ron Silver touching himself moment from Time Cop, but fortunately worked out okay.
No gelatinous blob of purple goo left over when they were together in the same room. That's good.
Right, exactly. Daniel and his wife, Jonathan Bush, who had just gotten married a month ago, lives in Savannah area. He came to this thing. It was a packed house. It was.
Did Shane do a slow rotation with his camera, or no? Did we not get one of those this year?
We did not see one of those. So he might have done one of those at another time. But we even walked around with him while I was waiting for him to take a rotating video selfie, and he never did.
Shane, I won't say I'm disappointed, but I'm a little disappointed, just a little. I follow that guy on social media, all of his video things. I didn't see any video like that, and that made me sad. So Shane, shape up, Shane. I'm going to call you Shape Up, Shane. Shane, shape up.
Shape up, Shane. But
Yeah.
what else? The had great dinners, breakfasts with everybody. I mean, it was just a really, really good time. Chuck in September made this incredible like egg bites and bacon that September smoked herself sausage that she made. Chuck made a bread pudding for breakfast that was incredible. Went and got some coffee from a local place that he knew called Coffee Fox that was legit, totally legit good.
Coffee Fox. I like the name.
Oh yeah, Jonathan gave me a. It's a knife. You can't really see it. It's teeny tiny, and it's nearly invisible on this Hawaiian shirt. But it is a butcher's knife with the overlook carpeting from The Shining. So it's a
no way. So it's supposed to be like the knife that Jack Torrance uses through the door and stuff. Is that the same knife?
Yeah, exactly. That's
awesome.
It's just got the overlook carpet pattern, that memorable hexagonal carpet pattern.
I love that. That is so cool. Very cool. Well, that's great.
So, yeah, it was a good time. It was, man, here's the only complaint. I have one big complaint.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's ready for now. Now comes the time of complaints.
It's a Dunaway-sized complaint. Oh, just kidding. Go ahead.
That's right. Oh, yeah, there would have been an axe, right, to get through the door. Dunaway says, one more day. Should have been Thursday. Like, it felt so quick. The whole experience was so quick. It was like we flew out there. We flew back on the Friday and the Sunday. We really just had one day to be out there, really. And I know a lot of people, probably couldn't do an extra day price-wise or getting off work time or something like that.
Sure.
And I know it wasn't even, it's not something that was even suggested at the beginning, but I just enjoyed spending so much time with all these people that one more day would have been even better.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because even in this year's case, you wouldn't have been able to anyway because you had that wedding.
No, the wedding would have preempted us being able to be out there on a Thursday anyway. So as we're talking about 2025, I think adding a Thursday in there would be ideal.
That's awesome. Glad you had a good time.
And maybe a place that's cheaper to fly into so that we don't have that 3 hour. We don't have like 7 hours of driving back and forth for Amy and Chuck to cart people there.
Yeah, that's a lot. Was it the van I was thinking, or it was like a big old van, right?
It was a big old transit van. Yeah. And Chuck did a great job. Drove the whole way, both ways. Never, like we all offered, hey, if you need to take a break, if you need anyone else to drive, we can do it. But he took the wheel and
drives a hard bargain, as they say. Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done. I spent my weekend. We were supposed to have a giant party for Phoebe's second birthday.
Yeah,
it didn't happen. She got sick and barfed all night.
Oh no!
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. There's something ripping through their house over there. When you send your kids to school, this is just what happens because Van brings home whatever he brings home.
Of course, they're little petri dishes at this point.
Yeah, so that got canceled, but we saw her yesterday. So that would have been Saturday, but she was much better by yesterday. So we got to see her yesterday. Anyway, we have been, because the thing got canceled, we've had a couple of nights open up, and we're like, well, should we keep our little alien watching thing going? And so we did. Mm-hmm. So we watched Alien 4, or Alien Resurrection as it was known, and also last night Prometheus. So here's my takeaway from this experience so far with two people who haven't seen any of these, Carter and her friend Alicia, who's currently staying with us. They're enjoying the hell out of it, and that's great. But the thing I'm learning here is we came to these sequels with so much baggage, you and I and everybody in our generation, because we see the first one, we go, horror masterpiece. Will there ever be anything as good? Probably not. That's the attitude we all had.
Right.
And then the second one comes, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They made an action horror movie and an incredible sequel. I can't believe they pulled it off. And then 3 comes and we're like, oh, disappointment. 4 comes, oh, disappointment. And they don't come at this with any of that baggage. They're just coming at this with like, let's just see what these are. Yeah, and they're looking at it as a whole, like they want to see the entirety of it. And they're enjoying it so much. And I can't help but enjoy it with them in a way that I haven't, even with our film sack viewing of some of these.
Sure.
I'm enjoying the hell out of these. Like, there's stuff in 4 that there's problems with 4, big problems.
Sure.
But there's stuff in there that's awesome. There's some really cool shit in 4.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Prometheus in particular, which I already liked. I'm not one of those anti-Prometheus people. I really like Prometheus, but I came to it this viewing, even enjoying it even more because, again, I'm watching it with people with open minds and none of the baggage. We're just like watching these things for what they are and for when they are, and we're having a ball. Here is the one thing I will say, my biggest takeaway from Prometheus, and it makes sense because it's so much time later.
Sure.
But cinematography-wise, holy shit, what an upgrade.
It's such a gorgeous film.
It's a beautiful film. It's like not even fair. Yeah. It's not even fair he gets to just bring along all his gladiator people with him.
Well, it's really the first film that doesn't take place almost entirely inside a dank, crummy, musty, dirty spaceship, and the one time they land on planets, it's like, oh no, it's permanent night with clouds and
it's
like
crazy.
that.
It's also crazy how I've mixed things up. There are things that happen in Covenant, which we haven't watched with them yet, but I've seen recent enough. There are things in Covenant that I swear were in Prometheus. I got it all mixed up. There's this whole thing at the end with the guy's head blowing out the back and the thing. I was sure that was part of the other movie. I was sure that them out in a field with a bunch of white-looking little aliens running around, the small little dog-sized ones. I swore that was Prometheus. It's not. So I'm excited to see. We're going to roll right into that sometime this week, and
good deal.
It's going to be great.
I loved Prometheus more on my second viewing, on my home viewing, than I did when I saw it in theaters. And from my the Alien Super Special that I did for FilmSack, my monthly bonus special, I rated them, or I ranked them all and put Resurrection last, with the caveat that even though Resurrection is last, I still say it's like a B- movie. It just happens to be my least favorite or maybe I said C+, I remember, but it just happens to be my least favorite among a whole cluster of fantastic movies. And something has to be at the bottom, and it's Resurrection, and it's still a great movie.
Yeah, same. Resurrection's at the bottom for me, but it's not that I don't actually have a good time in there.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Dan Hidaya's Harry back again, but it's fine, whatever.
Well, who does, right?
The guy is so hairy.
It's Loretta.
My wife looked at it. She hadn't seen for it, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, that's Nick Tortelli." I'm like, "Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
you're right." Well, anyway,
Carla, I'm still loving you, Carla.
Having a ball with it, and we're screaming our. Well, I guess we only have, because we're not doing AVPs at all, so we're gonna go straight from Covenant to Romulus. Yeah. And Romulus hits digital on the 15th, so we're just about on time. So it's going to work out great.
Perfect timing.
Got a quick mailman update from our favorite mailman. This is Bob the mailman in CT. He says, funny enough, as a mailman, when we park our vehicles at a curb, we are required to turn our front wheels toward the curb. I didn't know this. Referred to as curbing our wheels. When my son was so very young, he referred to the act as spurping my tires. That has stuck with me and my wife ever since. So that's my definition of spurping. Also, my guess would be that the shilling letter was stuck in a piece of empty equipment or lost in a facility's nether regions, only to be found again and returned to you. Hope that helps.
Which makes sense. Yeah. That turning your wheels to the curb, if there's any sort of hill, and somehow your emergency brake goes out, this keeps your postal vehicle from just rolling down the hill into another car, because having the wheels turned, whether you're facing downhill or facing uphill, will always rotate you.
So this would apply to any car, right? Like if you're parking on a hill?
Any car, yeah. And in Denver, you learn to do that a lot. And I'm surprised, you probably were taught that in Utah as well. But if you're parking on a hill, do that, even if you're using the emergency brake, because sometimes those emergency brakes go out. And you need you want to make sure.
There's a part of Salt Lake City we call the avenues, and it's just constant steep hill. It reminds me of San Francisco. It's like that. And I assume this is true in San Francisco for whoever is dumb enough to drive there, but you should always. So let's learn a little something here today, listeners.
Yes.
Aim them spurp your tires toward the curb.
That's right.
All right?
Basically, like if you are facing downhill, then the curb is to your right, turn your wheels to the right.
There you go.
If you're facing uphill, turn your wheels to the left.
Yeah. I think it's on our test. I think you had to get that right to get a license here.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Well,
San Francisco, big time. Yeah. Makes sense.
But if you're in, I don't know, Kansas, you probably get away with it.
Maybe not so much. Nebraska,
Yeah.
What's a curb?
It's a place to put your enthusiasm, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I like Spurb Your Enthusiasm. That's a there's
Spurb
a new
Your
easy-
There you go. Bang somebody bang yes. Spurb Your Enthusiasm. We had a lot of over the weekend. We would do bang yes and say a title, even though no one was tracking titles, no one was casting votes, but.
You didn't have Preston at home putting them on the sheet.
We did
okay.
not. No, unfortunately, nobody was keeping track.
That's a
We had
shame.
Quite a few hilarious ones. Amy and Chuck had.
Those ones are lost.
Really, really funny ones.
Lost to time, those.
Yeah, we watched, Dunaway made us watch the movie Return to Oz.
Oh, Lord.
Which is a very, very dark, twisted horror sequel to The Wizard of Oz.
I'm shocked that he would do such a thing. Shocked.
I know. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
How could he? How dare he?
How dare he?
And
not in his wheelhouse at all.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I can hear his creaky headset now. Hey, Brian Dunaway, what are you doing, man?
Oh, hi, Scott and Brian. I'm just trying to recover from our little trip to Savannah. It was so much fun. I miss everybody already, especially those cookies.
That's where they ended up. Damn it. I knew it.
Oh, yeah, we had boxes of cookies.
The cookies. That's right. The big Tupperwares. I thought you were talking about the Gophers that disappeared.
No, and I believe that was...
Gophers.
Who made the cookies? Chuck did?
Was it Shaladin or was it's? Oh yeah, I think was his wife. I didn't get to talk to her just a couple of times. I didn't get to.
We like to give shout outs to
Daniel. Sorry, not
it was Daniel.
I kept going back and forth. I accidentally called Daniel Ben sometimes and Ben Daniel sometimes.
Yeah.
And I hope
Ben Danielson.
Hoping they both forgive me.
I had to remember a Sutranu because he helped me carry in that that CRT. So can't forget that. And Hondo helped too. So yeah, that was good work. Good work.
Somebody's got to carry your big stupid monitors that you find on the side of the road. And who else is going to do it?
I was like, I can't carry this myself. What am I?
Yeah, who
Strong?
are you? Yeah, what am I? Upper body strength? What are you doing here?
Get out of here.
Dunaway's here. We're going to play a game. It's called the Monday Half-Asses, and Brian Ibbett here will now explain what it is and who might win what.
Okay, welcome to Morning Half-Asses, a trivia game where I'm actually going to be giving you the answers. I'm going to give Scott and Brian a category and 6 possible answers, 3 of which are correct, and 3 of which, like Fairuza Balk's movie Return to Oz, are far, just in the wrong. Depending on how confident they feel in the category, they can provide 1, 2, or 3 guesses, but if they get any of those guesses wrong, they get 0 points for that round. Get 1 right gets you a point. 2 right gets you 3 points. 2 right, 3 points. 3 right, 5 points. There you go. We'll add up all those points at the end, and the person with the most points wins prizes for their contestant. And I'm going to tell you who these contestants are right now. Scott, you're playing for Luke in PA.
Nice. Hey, Luke.
Otherwise known as a whatnot, frequent community member, a whatnot. And Brian, you're playing for Andrew N. in Lakeland, Florida.
Oh, nice. Hope he's staying safe down there.
I hope so too. With Milton is the one that's coming towards them.
Yeah,
I believe that Milton category 4. Last time I looked, I think. Hey, no more hurricanes. Appreciate it. Thanks
exactly.
anyway.
Tis the season. It makes landfall. What, Thursday? I think is the expected.
I think so.
Yeah.
Great.
Gonna be bad.
They'll probably hook my broadband up the same day.
Yeah.
Like, gotta go.
It'll go down. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the game here. Let's start off with question number 1. We're going to begin with, so, we've got something coming up here in what, 30 days, under 30 days, 20 some days.
Are you referring to All Hallows?
Well, let's say it's that, but really, we know what it is. How about other things that happen every 4 years?
That thing.
Yeah.
That happen every 4 years.
Just as scary.
Yes, exactly. Which of these happen every 4 years? The National Boy Scout Jamboree, presidential elections in France, the Cricket World Cup, Catholic Jubilee years, the Van Cliburn piano competition, and the Pritzker Prize for architecture is awarded.
Should we be seeing these on the?
I know. I see a bunch of blanks.
I'm clicking the button right now.
Okay, there we go.
Jeez,
I like to read them out.
Somebody has a wedding and travels all over the country, comes back and wants to
for the first round. I always like to read them out first before you see them.
All right. Well,
okay.
Let's see.
Sure.
National Boy Scout Jamboree actually sounds right. I used to do stuff with that.
I used to do the jamboree.
The Van Cliburn piano competition. If there's one thing I keep track of, it's the Van Cliburn
piano competition.
Yeah, we call it the Cliburn, here in the know, with people in the know.
You got to keep it the short version, sure.
Yeah. Catholic Jubilee years. I have no idea on these.
I'm just poking buttons.
I'm hitting 2. I don't know.
Poking buttons.
The two of you selected 4 totally different ones, which means
nice.
At least one of you is getting something wrong, right? Just by
mathematical computations.
National Boy Scout Jamboree. Scott picked that one, and that is correct. So his memory on that one is very, very good.
Well, I'm screwed unless they got the other 2 right. Not likely.
Also
not looking good.
Catholic Jubilee years, whatever the hell that thing is. Is it correct? Scott was right with the Van Cliburn piano competition.
I totally guessed that one. I have no idea.
Good job.
The Cricket World Cup was the other one that apparently happens every 4 years. So
Oh.
I don't know how often presidential elections in France are every 5 years. Catholic Jubilee years are irregular, so not on a fixed schedule. And the Pritzker Architecture Prize is awarded annually. So every year you could win a Pritzker Architecture Prize.
Well,
start working on your submission for next
I was going to
year.
say, I got a little piece of paper. It's early stages, but I'm going to work for it. I'm going to get there. And then the Van Cliburn, I'm also getting ready for that. So I got a lot going on.
Oh, good. Yeah. Tickle those ivories, Scott.
Yeah.
Let's get to question number 2. Names that are also letters in the NATO radio alphabet. Which of these are also names, are also letters in the NATO radio alphabet? Victor, Walter, Jack, Oscar, Mike, and Ivan.
Oh my Lord.
So if you know your Alpha Bravo Charlies, then you're gonna be able to figure this one out without any problem.
Okay, that's as close as I know. I don't even know if that's right.
Okay.
I'm choosing
Well,
2.
you both said Victor, and Victor is correct. Yeah,
Victor
is the V in the NATO alphabet. The other 3 you guys chose. You chose Oscar, Mike, and Ivan, but not the same person. Chose all those. Of course.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll let us.
Nope. Brian, you chose Oscar and Mike. Scott, you chose Ivan. India is the I in the NATO alphabet. Oscar and Mike are the other ones. So Victor, Oscar, and Mike. Brian getting 5 points on that one.
All right, Johnson. Let me give you a little peek behind the curtain of my thinking. All right, I thought Ivan because in my head I'm
Crazy
thinking
Ivans?
NATO. Well, I'm thinking NATO. They protect Europe. Like that's the idea. It's a big European alliance. And they're like, "Hey, Russia, not so fast. We're gonna block you from this or block you from that." So I was thinking like names like Victor and Ivan are very like Eastern European dictator names. So I should have just gone with my gut because I thought Oscar and Mike looked right too. But that sounded like Americans doing that. So I don't know. Anyway, there you go. A peek behind the curtain on how Scott's brain doesn't work right. Bing.
It's all right. Let's get to question number 3, and let's see how well your brain works for this one.
I don't want to repeat of last week where Scott come in at the last second and whoop me. So I'm a little nervous right now.
Should be. Yeah. Be nervous.
Of course.
Shaking.
And by the way, let's going into this last round here. We've got Brian with 5 points, Scott with 3. So really is anybody's game going into question number 3. Inventions named after a place. Which of these are inventions that are named after a place? Hockey, pin.
Oh, you cut out after pinball. You said pin.
Pinball, bikini, dum-dum bullets, radar, and denim.
Excellent.
3 of those are named after an actual place.
Oh, man. I need to get big points on this one.
You need 2 correct to tie, or not to tie, and you need Brian to get 0 right.
Dum-dum bullet. Dum-dum bullet is either the most obvious non-answer or is 100% correct. I hate that feeling.
Right? I know. It's like, why did they put that there? Is it just so dumb that it's the right answer, or is it so dumb that you're going to think it's the right answer?
Or is it so dumb it's definitely the right answer?
Right. I mean, how dumb do you want your suckers to be? Let's see. Shit. If I get 2 right, that gives me
3 points.
3 points. So I could beat him by 1.
If Brian gets any wrong, that wins you the game. But if Brian, even if he gets 1 right, guesses 1, gets 1 right, you tie. And then on any other
do your best.
He wins.
All right, I'm gonna just There's no way pinball's named after
You got pretty
a place.
lucky there the first time. That was some good guesses.
Pinball's a
Who knows?
ball with pins. All right, I'm winging it. I don't know.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did pick pinball because I just like pinball, and I didn't have
Well-
any. I just like, why not?
I love it because I get to watch as you choose, right? I get to see what you
Right.
select and what you deselect and things like that. And right away, you guys both, of course, went for Bikini because it's the Bikini Islands,
Islands,
where the
yeah.
or the Bikini Atoll, where the
Where all the bikinis
where
run
they
around.
tested the bomb and stuff. And then Scott selected Denim.
Yep.
My denim, and he wins.
And Denim is from a place called Nimes in France, or Nîmes. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Nimes in France, but it's where Denim, right? Denim.
My pants are denim. Yep.
Which probably tells me right there how it's pronounced. It's Denim.
Yeah.
Um,
Adele Denim.
and Scott stopped there for a really long time.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
With 2 correct answers, Scott stopped
Uh-oh.
there. And if he would have really
Ah!
stopped there,
Shit.
instead of choosing hockey, which is not named after a place, neither is pinball. The other one really was Dum Dum Bullets, which
Oh,
come from
shit.
Nice.
yeah, the Dum Dum Arsenal in India is where the Dum Dum Bullets come from.
I should have just done the 2.
If you would have stopped at the 2, you would have had it. Congratulations, Brian, and by proxy, congratulations, Andrew N. in Lakeland, Florida. You're getting the prizes. Those prizes, by the way, are Infraspace, which we tried to give away last week. Somebody already had it or had some situation going on. Infraspace, we had something going on. And
I don't care about their lives. Whatever.
SpongeBob
Take it, don't.
SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake.
Ooh.
You're getting a copy of both of those.
That's cool.
But a whatnot, Luke, PA, you're getting a copy of Astria, 6-sided Oracle.
All good. Every one of those games is good. And
Yeah.
Infraspace in particular is good. I don't know about the SquarePants game, but I'm a sucker for SpongeBob stuff. So everybody
Sure.
wins today. Nobody loses except me. Think of it that way.
Yeah. Plus, they're on big. Plus, he's in Bikini Bottom. Real place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, look at that. There's the connection right there to
Yeah.
today's game, Bikini Bottom. Yeah.
Actual place. Dunaway, you did it again, man. You pulled it out. You made everybody look bad except you. You did great. Good job.
Dude, you lost this one, not me. I didn't do anything. I just showed up.
That's true. He'll be back Wednesday, though. We'll see if we can get a little revenge. And I look forward to that. Stay out of trouble. Get your internet back and kiss our
you.
butts. All right. There he goes. We do have time for the news, it turns out, and we'll do it now. It's time for the news, brought to you by...
Watch Tom Norm and friends play D&D on Twitch. Get it at twitch.tv/TomMNorm. TOMMNORM.
There you go. 2 M's in that Tom.
2 M's in that Tom. Get them both, or it doesn't count.
Let's talk first about this LAPD raid. That's the Los Angeles Police Department, for those unaware, here in the States. And this goes bad. From bad to farce, really, is what this headline says, after a gun allegedly sucked into an MRI machine.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Lord. I've seen a video where they did this just for funsies. It was like they were decommissioning an MRI machine, and for fun, they filmed a bunch of stuff getting sucked into it, and like metal chairs just lifted right off the ground and sucked into that tube. Like insane amount of magnetism in that thing.
It is.
So don't go in there with like your wallet, like a chain on your wallet or shit like
Necklaces or rings or whatever, unless they're non-magnetic metal.
that. Yeah.
But still, how do you obviously they know, and they'll say, nope, that cheap ass necklace you're wearing is just fine. You can wear that in there.
Wonder if it tears your nipple rings out or anything like that.
Oh, geez, yeah, you better come forward come clean about your nipple rings.
Can you imagine just chink chink? Oh, that hurt.
I can imagine because I feel like we've seen it in a movie.
Yeah, and then you still got to sit in there and going the whole time. That thing sucks.
Yeah, Hellraiser.
Hate it.
Yeah.
All right. LAPD raid goes bad. An officer in the Los Angeles Police Department found out the hard way that you can't take a real metal object, in this case his gun, his sidearm, near an MRI machine after their rifle flew out of their hands and became attached to the machine during a pot raid gone bad. Pot raid. I thought it was
I know
legal
they're doing
in
a
LA.
pot raid into a place with an MRI machine. I love it. But,
what do you raid now when it's legal in your state? I guess it'd have to be illegally trafficked.
Yeah, it must. Let's see, Los Angeles Police Department. So
It's legal there. Yeah.
It's legal there. I guess maybe somebody didn't have their pot card.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Anyway, the owners of NoHo Diagnostic Center, NoHo,
No Hank in his diagnostic center.
it's really weird, are suing the LAPD, the city of Los Angeles, and multiple police officers, alleging they violated the business owner's constitutional rights and demanded an unspecified amount in damages. Officers allegedly raided the diagnostic center located in the Van Nuys neighborhood of Los Angeles, thinking it was a front for an illegal cannabis cultivation facility, pointing to higher than usual energy level use and a distinct odor of cannabis plants, according to the lawsuit. They raided the place on the 18th and detained the lone female employee while they searched the business. However, they did not find a single cannabis plant and only saw a typical medical facility with rooms for conducting x-rays, ultrasounds, CT scans, and MRIs, according to the owners. They went in there with a gun, sucked it out of his arms, clang, done.
It sounds so comical, right? Like, bust in, this is a raid. Hey,
Yeah.
my rifle.
Yeah, big dummies. Anyway, it turns out the gun is cancer-free, so everything's fine. Mom to pay son for throwing out his comics.
Yeah.
Is this the story? Is this
like
the one?
my mom did with my Micronauts rocket tubes.
Oh, okay. This is the connection. I was wondering.
That's where the connection is. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Rocket
All right.
tubes and a bunch of Micronauts too.
Rocket
tubes. Threw them out or gave them away to some other kid or something, or who knows what. Goodwill. I don't know, but.
Well, the Chai District Court has ordered their mother to pay. Wait, where is this? China? No. Where is this?
This is Taipei,
Thailand. So what is NT stands for? I don't know what that stands for. That's their money, but
yeah, I don't know what the
Noodle Tax.
Know Taiwanese money is called.
Yeah, I think it's Noodle Tax. I'm gonna go with that.
Noodle Tax. Okay, sure.
I think that's. There's nothing offensive about that at all.
No, nothing at all.
That's how much they want in damages after she threw out her son's collection of 32 Attack on Titan comic books. Fine can be commuted to labor, and the ruling can be appealed, according to the court. The woman named Chien lives with her 20-year-old son, but the two have a strained relationship due primarily to the son's habit of collecting manga and magazines and refusal to dispose of them, according to the ruling. The son was livid and sued his mother, saying some of the books were just out of print, meaning they were hard to get, kind of like your tubes. Your tubes.
Yeah, very hard to get. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks a lot. Chien.
I'm not going to sue her though.
No, not for
she's
5,000.
Right now.
Not for 5,000 NT or whatever that is.
No. Maybe North Taiwanese dollars, because they do have the dollar, but it might be. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of NT, meaning North Taiwan, north of Taiwan, or north of
Interesting.
Taipei.
They have different currency in the South, maybe? It's weird.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's see. He was contrite, asked to settle out of court. She did not appear when summoned for further questioning. Son was unwilling to engage in dialogue with his mother to find a settlement, so the prosecutors indicted Chang for destruction of property per the criminal code. So moms out there, just know you can't just chuck your son's shit out the door.
No. Don't do it while they're away at college, thinking, I need the space for my needlepoint.
Yeah. The worst part is he still lives there. He has to go see her now,
I know, yeah, that's going to be really awkward, too, with the lawsuit and everything.
Yeah. Attack on Titan comics, they must be the mangas he means. Because I don't think there's like a comic book, yeah.
Just like the...
He says he collects manga and magazines, but at the top it says Attack on Titan comic books. I think those are the same. I don't know. TaipeITimes.com. Get your shit straight.
The Type A Times.
Type A Times. My favorite blood type.
Always have to be so right.
Yep. Always you can't be wrong, can you, boys?
Relax, Type A Times.
Here's an interesting story about a woman. My tab just went nuts. There we go.
All right.
Woman gets a reply to an job application that she made 48 years ago.
Wow! Finally, I've been waiting. She's been waiting for this job at the Dairy Queen to really pan out.
Yeah. Woman spent 48 years wondering why her application for her dream job was never answered, and finally found out why. Tizzy Hodson, age 70.
Tizzy. I love that
of
name.
Gedney Hill in Lincolnshire, is one of your people there, Zoe. Could not believe her eyes when she opened the post to discover her original letter applying for a job as a motorcycle stunt rider sent,
wow.
sent in January of 1976, have been stuck behind a post office drawer all these years, like the shilling Christmas card.
The shilling Christmas card, yes, the notorious shilling Christmas card.
Oh man. It says, despite it getting lost in the post, you guys are cute over there with the post. The setback did not hamper her daredevil career as she found a job that took her all over the world. Describing the letter being returned as amazing, Miss Hobson said, "I always wondered why I never heard back about that job. Now I know why." That's my best version of her.
That's very good. Yes, very good.
At the top,
I imagine at 78, or 70, that's exactly what she sounds like too.
Yeah. And by the way, so I was always giving me crap for calling the Post cute, but if there are any Britishisms I wish we would have adopted, it's the Post. I like it.
Yeah, and lifts. Oh, I'm going to take a lift up to the third floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have messed up that company. They have to call them something else. But
Otis Lifts.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that Alicia Keys disguised herself as a Lyft driver, and then drove?
Did she really?
Yeah, drove around to see how long it would take people to figure out it was her or something like that. Some story rolling around about it.
Oh, you meant it would change the Lyft company having to have a different name.
Yeah. Because if
we'd have found like we're just getting people up and down in buildings. Right,
yeah,
with Lyft.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think that Post and
yeah.
You got any others? I don't know.
Pram. Pushing a pram.
Pram's good. Mushy peas. Whatever.
You can keep the mushy peas.
Yeah, you can keep that. Yeah, those are yours to have.
Those. Give me the bangers and mash. I'll take the bangers and mash, but you can keep the mushy peas.
I would eat bangers and mash today. Mm-hmm. Although I had tacos last night and I overdid it. I had 2 tacos. I had 3 tacos and I should have had 2.
Well, I overdid this weekend because it turns out you can't get anything that's not deep fried in Savannah. It's all, deep fried chicken, deep fried chicken fingers at Zaxby's, deep fried shrimp, and what else did I have? Oysters, and yeah.
The American South, baby. That's what they do to you.
Wouldn't have traded any of it.
No.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, when in Rome, right? That's what they say.
Exactly. Yep.
This lady says, it was amazing to get this. I always wondered why I never heard back about the job. Now I know why. At the top of the letter is a handwritten note that reads, "Late delivery of Staines Post Office, found behind drawer, only about 50 years late." It's written on the thing. Let's see here. Let's see how they found me now that I've moved house 50 odd times, because she traveled a ton for her job.
Yeah.
And even moved countries 4 or 5 times is a mystery. I mean, it means so much to me to get it back after all this time later. I remember very clearly sitting in my flat in London typing the letter. Oh, it's cute.
Oh, I was really hoping that she got the letter back from them, like the letter from them saying you're hired.
Yeah.
As a motorcycle stand, but it's just her letter applying that she got back and that they never received. So it's like, oh man, I think
yeah, it's a bummer.
It would have been better if it was the letter of either rejection or admission that never got it.
So it really is a lot like the shilling letter. Just never got there.
Right. Never made it to its intended destination.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Post. All right. Yeah. That'll do it for today's news. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Science with Bobby. It's time for Bobby. It's time for Science. Science with Bobby. Yeah. He and I just did another 8 of 8 clear of a raid the other night. That was super fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
All by ourselves. 2 tanks, nobody else. Nobody else involved.
No other DPS or healing or anything. Just the 2 of you.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done. Good
job. It was slow. It took forever, but we did it. We got it. Anyway, more on that coming up, and some science talk with Bobby. Stick around. But before that, a song. Brian, bring a song. Play a song.
Sure. So Pennywise, really cool group. A lot of people know a ska punk band, Pennywise. Well, lead singer and chief songwriter Jim Lindberg is doing a solo thing doing a splinter group with his band, The Black Pacific. First album that they've released in nearly 14 years. It's coming out. It's actually available now. It's called Here Comes Our Wave. This is the first song from it. You might think it's a garbage cover, but it's not. It's called I Think I'm Paranoid. Here is.
Once you have your sheets, it's time to make sure you have all your bedside accoutrements. Fresh cat's milk, whiskey, and a cabinet full of lucky bones and hair.
This is a wrap that I've made into a pencil case. It's got a pencil sharpener up its arse.
And we returned. Brian, tell me who that was again.
Sure, that was Jim Lindbergh and his band The Black Pacific with a song that was not by Garbage originally, called I Think I'm Paranoid. Just happens to have the same title. So when you're looking for it, the one you want is from The Black Pacific.
Nice. Nothing wrong with the Garbage one, though, if you want to go,
No, nothing wrong with the Garbage one.
No, go do them both.
Or Iceworm is going to have a heart attack when he gets ready to do the notes for this episode in quick TMS.li, because he's going to see I Think I'm Paranoid and realize it's not the Garbage.
Yeah, but he'll have a jolt of excitement that we love giving him
will.
occasionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
We don't hear enough from him outside of the little duty he does. You know what I mean? He should be here live with us, is what I'm saying. I know he works.
Yes, agreed.
I would love to see Mike around more.
In the early days, we had him on for that video game segment, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super fun. We hope you're doing well, Iceworm, and your ice is suitably warm.
I think about you every time I drive by the Wizard's Chest in Denver, because I love that store, and I know you work there.
Yeah. Does he come to the meetups in Denver?
Sometimes, when it works out, he does, yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right, who am I adding? Oh, yeah, Bobby.
You're adding Bobby. Bobby.
What day is it?
Give us a little Bobby.
All right, let's get Bobby in here. Let's have some science in our lives. Let's play his intro right here.
Science!
Bob is hungry, and the soup looks good.
It does indeed. It's Bobby Frankenberger. You may know him as co-host of The Instance and creator of such things as Perfect Tank Job and also All Around Science. Bobby, welcome to the show, and it's nice to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Are you going to start a podcast called Perfect Tank Job? Because I really hope so. Perfect Tank Job.
He's a good tank. Although there was some confusion in that heroic fight, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. It turns out it's funny how these things work, because the first boss is easy as normal, no problem. Rip right through it. First one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Second boss on heroic, because the thing's got armpit lasers that want to eat you and kill you, and lots of fun. Anyway, more on that later in this month's episode of The Instance. Not now, though. We're going to talk about some science. Bobby brought a little science with him. What do we got going today? What's going on?
I wanted to talk a little bit about your favorite topic, Scott, which is artificial intelligence.
Oh, I do love some AI discussion.
He loves AI.
Yeah. I love it in some contexts. I hate it in others. So it's a real I got to be picky about what kind of AI I like or not. But if you're going to here to tell me about generative AI, which so far nobody's given me a good reason for it to exist. It's mostly used for memes, misinformation, and utter bullshit. So as soon as somebody says, "Oh, here's a good use for it," then maybe I'll be on board. But I've yet to see it.
This will definitely fuel your distaste for AI.
Good.
I think.
Great, let's do it.
And it'll make you even more intolerable in your arguments because
excellent,
because it's science backing it.
Great.
So you now get the. So there was a recent paper published in Nature on September 25th that says that large language model AI models, that's redundant, large language model AIs are becoming less reliable in their ability to provide accurate answers to questions as their technology is scaled up. And it's more concerning than that because they're also becoming more convincing in their ability to give answers. So those two combined together, less reliable but more convincing.
Oh gosh, yeah, I would love this. This is great. I've changed my mind, everybody. I think it's an amazing thing that we're doing to ourselves. Wonderful.
Yeah,
all right.
So we're as we're all aware, more people are using AI nowadays, and not just in regular like harmless applications. There are lots of people using it in education, medicine, science. Lots of AI is being integrated into every aspect of life in the world, right? And so it's important. It's very important for it to work accurately and efficiently.
Sure.
It back when it first came out, it was very prone to error. We were all kind of all knew that as we were using it. Mm-hmm. There would, but a lot of times AI, whenever you asked it a question or to do something that it couldn't do or couldn't answer, then it would just it just wouldn't answer, right? It would just say, I don't know, or some version of that, right?
Here's what I found on the web.
Yeah.
The equivalent of that,
Of the equivalent of going onto a forum, asking a question, and then someone giving you a Google link.
Let me Google that for you. Yes, right. Yeah.
But that would be disappointing for users who wanted to use AI to answer questions, right? You ask it a question, you want an answer if it can't. And so that would lead to people thinking that AI was unreliable or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so researchers and engineers set about to solve this problem. They wanted to make AI better, able to answer more questions, and for people to think that it was more reliable in order to be able to use it as a tool. And one of the ways that they did that was by scaling up the models, right?
Right.
And by scaling up the models, what I mean is that that they would make the data that it trained on. Basically, large language models, the way that they train the data is just by training it on huge amounts of text. All right, because it's a language model, right? It's trying to predict what to say next.
Yeah, and by the way, my beef with AI has nothing to do with LLMs. It's got nothing to do with business applications or my dentist's new AI model that better molds crowns to fit your teeth, or millions of other tiny little use cases that nobody even talks about. My beef is generative AI. Now, you could say LLMs are a form of generative AI, and they can be, I suppose. But there's a future, which I'm ready for, where LLMs are good enough, better than they are now. Not good enough. They need to be kind of, like you said a second ago, we need to convince more people, or not convince them, but people need to believe that they're more correct. I just like them to straight up be more correct. I don't want to believe in it. I want to know that they're more correct. So I have issues with that. Like the inaccuracy stuff is a problem. Obviously, that's a problem for everybody.
Yeah.
Those aren't where my beefs are, though. So anyway, continue on. LLM, bim, bam, boom. Let's go.
Yeah. And to be clear, I was using you as a proxy to be funny that of people who rant against AI, right? Like
mostly it's this thing where people create fake photographs, and I don't just mean for the lulls. I mean, there's no point to it. Sure. There's no actual point to it other than to use a bunch of
photographs, imitating voices, stuff like that. There are definitely lots of problems, but this is specifically.
I use it all. I post this in chat, but I use this all the time with a client of mine who does basement remodeling and can't remember to get his clipboards and his tools off countertops, and save me the hours that I would normally spend doing photo retouching, and I can just go zoop, zoop, zoop in Photoshop. Say, all right, fill this with the wood grain pattern that normally would be there under this workbench or no workbench.
Yeah.
And that's that's a subcategory of very good application of that same technology. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. I think bad actors are the real issue when it comes to AI, and it's a very real concern, and that's a whole nother conversation, I think. But I think this segues into that conversation because of what these researchers found out. Well, so when they started to try to figure out, a long time ago, engineers tried, not a long time ago, it's not been around that long, but earlier in these iterations, engineers set out to solve this problem of unreliability by scaling up the models, and that means just making larger training data. So, for example, GPT-3 was trained on 45 terabytes of text data. That's a lot of text data. And GPT-4 was trained on even more.
Yeah.
So just a lot. And the number of language parameters that GPT-3 was trained on was 175 billion language parameters. Now, a language parameter is like, you know how you've been told before that AI, the way it works under the hood, the way the programming works is kind of like in the code, they code neurons, right? And it's not real. They just call them neurons, but basically they're just like branching trees that make decisions based on how you traverse these trees based on a certain input, and if a percentage of the input goes one way, then it'll take this next branch. If it goes the other way, it'll take a different branch. Each of those neurons, they call them, each of those branches is a language parameter. You really can't get more specific than that because it really depends on what model you're looking at, and that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of a model is how these parameters work.
Right.
But what you can say is that the more parameters you have, the more sophisticated this branching decision ability is, right? And a lot of it you can't explain because that's the whole scary thing about AI nowadays is that it's a black box. Nobody really understands how it's working.
Right.
It's just being trained on data, and under the hood in this black box, a lot of these language parameters are being adjusted. Anyway, so what happened was they scaled up these models, and they realized after they scaled them up, it was improving certain things, but it wasn't good enough because scaling up didn't completely solve the reliability problem. What it did was it sometimes made questions able to be answered, but it was unreliable in a different way. Now you would get slight variations in a prompt, like when you're prompting the AI with a question, slight variations in the wording of the prompt or even individual characters would generate wildly different answers. And that was becoming a problem. And so
Which something like, in art, sure, something creative, variance is just fine.
Right.
But with science, you don't want slight variations just based on the way you phrase a question if all that same data is consistent.
Or one of the examples I saw was in just math problems. Now, early on, early on, large language models couldn't perform math, but they have gotten better at that by changing the way that they train it. But when it was getting better, you could say, add 256 and 75, and it would give you one answer. And then if you said, and then if instead you typed in 256 plus 75 equals, it would give you a different answer, right?
Oh, geez,
like you're just using a different set of characters, and it was giving.
Right.
So
it's still the same numbers. Yeah.
Right. It's still the same math problem, just presented in a different way, and so not very reliable. So there've been all these techniques for developing and giving better answers and getting better answers. And all of these techniques are like reward based and with human feedback and stuff like that. You train it on data, it gives you some output, and you have some way of telling it how good that output is. That's just how these AI trainings work, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's all the background. What is this? What is the research that was done? Well, what the researchers did was they compared large language model AI from previous generations to more modern generations. So the example is like ChatGPT 3 to GPT 4. That jump kind of represents the scaling up because the big difference between those two is that it was scaled up with a lot more data. But also within those large generations, there were other iterations of them that they call shaped up versions. So there was GPT-3 Turbo, there was GPT-4o. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So those are shaped up versions, and what that meant was those were iterations of the same scale model, but they'd been trained in different ways to sort of give what they thought would be more reliable input. Anyway, the point is that there were many different iterations of these large language models that they were testing in this research, and they were measuring a couple of things. Basically they were measuring three things. They were measuring when they asked it a question, did it give a correct answer, an incorrect answer, or did it sort of defer, not answer the question, basically avoid the question somehow, either redirect or say I don't know or something like that, right?
Right.
So three results: incorrect, correct, or avoidant, right? And they asked 5 different types of questions. There would be addition problems. They would ask it to solve an anagram, where you mix up letters to create more words.
Yeah.
They would ask it geography questions. They would ask it science questions. And then there was a 5th category that they called transforms. And I'm not 100% sure what that one was, but just the way it sounded, the way they were describing it sounded like they were asking it just more open-ended kinds of, not not necessarily subjective questions, but more like answer questions that required longer answers, like in the hundreds or thousands of words.
Okay.
I'm not sure why they called it transforms or how that works, but the point is these are all like questions that have factual answers that you can check.
So not like a short question like how many times does the Earth rotate around the sun in a year? It's a question of how many. Please describe the nature of planetary orbit around a star or something like that, where you're getting a much larger, more complicated, nuanced answer.
I think so.
Don't an essay question versus a math question kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I think so. Yeah, that's the what you said, Brian. That's sort of my take on it. Is more like an essay question rather than a
the answer is 25 or whatever. Yeah, right.
So the main point being that these are questions that you can check the answer to.
Yeah.
So the results were that the researchers found that when you scaled up the training data, when you go from like GPT-3 to GPT-4, I'm using GPT as an example because a lot of people are familiar with it, but they used some other large language models like the one that Meta has, and
who has
and
Claude?
One as well.
Claude is I like Claude. Claude's the most accurate one I've ever used. I forgot the name who has it, but whoever that is, that one's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tested multiple ones, and among all of them, they found that if you when the models were changed by scaling up the amount of data it was trained on, that would dramatically increase the number of correct answers, which is what you hope for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More data available to it, the more correct answers. Yeah.
Right. Lots more correct answers when they were training it on larger data, especially for non-addition questions, because addition questions, the number of correct answers didn't change that much. But
it shouldn't, right?
Right. It seems pretty cut and dry.
Right. Yeah.
But
this one actually says the answer is 18. This one says 19 and a half. So
yeah, and it is funny to think that it could get it wrong, but to be fair, when they were testing it on addition, they were like using 50 or 100 digit addition problems. And some of them with different amounts of, like, you know how you have to carry the 10 in addition problems?
Oh,
there would
sure,
be
yeah.
different amounts of that going on. And
oh, jeez. I thought it might be like a either like a calculator situation where, sorry, I can only go up to 8 digits and I can only do math problems where the answer is 8 digits or less, or commas might throw it off, like having a billions number with a bunch of commas, and there's like, oh, you want me to add these 6 3-digit numbers together and then add it to the other number you're giving me, or something like that.
Right. So they did see, and also that makes me think that another thing to note for people thinking about how this experiment was designed, they also gave it a lot of different difficulty questions. They had difficulty rating all the questions they gave it. On all the different types of questions, they rated from difficulty of 1 to 100. And the difficulty they're talking about is as compared to how difficult it would be for a human to answer the same questions. But anyway, they across all difficulties and across all types of questions, they saw at least a slight increase in accuracy of the answers whenever they increased the scale. But some of the questions, like anagrams and geography and science, they saw a massive increase in the number of correct answers. But here's the thing. They also saw an increase in the number of incorrect answers. Now, you might be wondering, how is that possible? How can you have more correct answers, but also more incorrect answers?
Well, because you scaled up. So you scaled up all of it, right?
Well, and we're talking about percentage, right?
Yeah.
So
you can increase 70% and then also increase the 30% on the other side as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you saw a percentage increase of correct answers, but the reason they also saw a percentage increase of incorrect answers is because as these models improved over time, they were less likely to give you avoidant answers. So they were less likely to tell you they didn't know, and instead they would just make something up. Right? So that is, therein lies the rub, as you might say, right?
Sure.
And then they also found that in those incorrect answers, they additionally tested them and found that they were often spent more time and effort and be more wordy and trying to convince you and being convincing.
Here's why my incorrect answer is really correct. Were they able to figure out what the errors were, what the confusion was for the answers that were wrong? Like, oh, it's in the way that we worded this. Could the order of words we put in there could have been misleading to the AI, or did they figure out what caused it to go wrong?
They think that yes. The short answer is yes. And that's where it's really interesting because it's in the way that it was trained. They saw when you jumped from GPT, for example, I'm going to use GPT as an example again. When you jump from GPT-3 to GPT-4, where the big difference is the size of the training data, that you did see an increase in the number of incorrect answers and less likely to give avoidant answers. But within those two different sets, as the different iterations tweaked and tweaked the way that they were trained to try to be more reliable, they would give a lot more feedback. The type of training I'm talking about is like you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, and then you go back into it and give feedback in some way
saying
or another.
This is correct or this is incorrect, right?
Right, and you feed that back into the model. Not just, and I'm not talking about just not just in your conversation with the AI, but you feed that feedback into the core of the model so that it can give quote unquote better answers. Whenever that type of training was done and the iterations changed, that's when they saw the most dramatic decrease in avoidant answers. And they're pretty sure, they think the reason that this is happening is because the AI, it being trained by humans on human answers, is the bias that's being injected into it is that they're trying to give what we human beings will perceive as correct answers. So that's the positive feedback, right?
Because humans are fallible, these answers are fallible or
they don't
potentially
actually
incorrect.
Exactly. They don't actually have to give you correct answers. They just have to give you answers that you think are correct, right?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that's not problematic at all.
Yeah. No.
Right. So that's what these researchers found out, and so that's important to know.
It is important. It's getting trained by those that infinity of Facebook posts that say, "What is the answer to this complex math question? It's not what you think."
Right.
Yeah. So it's doing most of its training on. Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
And the answers all the answers in the comments, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
And so the interesting thing to me is that as we continue on with AI, what we're learning is that it's very complicated. It turns out when you try to create something that thinks like people, it is it has a comparable level of complication, right? Like our brains are complicated, so these programs are going to be complicated the more we try to make them behave like our brains, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. I don't know what the ultimate one of the aspects of this is that at least is interesting, and maybe it's not as big a deal as I think, but there are so many competing models. GPT comes up because they're kind of early in the game, but there's so many competing models. The one thing that you always assume from a science fiction standpoint is that an all-knowing AI, in the form of let's say a very advanced large language model, will be a singular entity and not a bunch of 15 competing entities.
Right.
And then what are they competing on? Like, those are interesting questions, I think, that are different than what we usually ask in our books and our movies of AI. We hear mother or father in these alien movies, or we hear, whatever AI is in whatever movie or book, and you go, oh yeah, well, of course, everyone's using it. It's everywhere. It's the ship's computer in Star Trek, Yeah.
Did the Wayland company, like the Witt Corporation, basically say, well, we could install Mother in our ship in the Nostromo. We also have this other one, and DeBlink 2.0 is available. And
did Earth government require them to have the option to sideload?
We have a contract with the Mother company, so we have to use their...
Yeah, it's the one aspect that we never seem to get into in these books and these stories. And so I'm always curious about what that actually means, if anything, to the biases, to the issues, to the advancements, whether or not that competition will make things better or harder. I mean, obviously it advances technology to have competition. That's always been true. But
sure,
in this case, it just seems strange for us to say, well, your artificial intelligence is smarter than my artificial intelligence. Like, it's just a weird new way of thinking about it.
Right. Well, because what I think we're starting to realize as companies and organizations are starting to actually put these types of AI models to use is that, like you said, there's not one single one. It's all about how you train it. They might all fundamentally work on similar principles, but the difference is in how you train it, because you need to reinforce certain types of answers. So like GPT, for example, ChatGPT, they're realizing that the way it's being trained reinforces just convincing people of the answer that you give. But there are other, like a software company might want to have a large language model that helps them program, like write software, which exists. Those are already out there. And the way that those are trained they're trained to give code that works, or they're trained to write code that is, you can, and even among different software companies who have different values, they might have different ways that they train their software helper AI, right? Like some companies might value code that's easy, that's human readable, right? So that you can go back and debug it easily, for example, by humans. Or some companies might really want code to be super efficient. So it doesn't matter if it's human readable as long as it gets the results in less lines of code or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about how you train it. And so there's gonna be a bunch of different, and there just are gonna be a bunch of different kinds of AI that are used for different things. That's why I don't really worry about, like, people are so worried about, like, the AI apocalypse. Like,
I don't worry about that at all. I just worry about people being dicks. That's it.
Right. Like, anybody who's going to bring
information using AI.
Yeah,
exactly. If AI is going to cause a problem for society, it's going to be because of us and the way that we've trained it and used it.
The call will come from inside the house for sure.
Right,
like, it's not gonna. This isn't gonna be a machine that suddenly goes Skynet, self-aware, and then destroys everybody. That's a fun thing to explore. It does play to base human fears. Like, I understand why we like it as a construct to tell Terminator stories, but that's not the thing that I'm worried about. Not even close. I'm worried about massive amounts of misinformation. Bad stewardship of tools and of technology. Like always, we're the shitheads. It's not the machines. The machines are doing what we tell them to do, and we're the problem.
Have you there's a new podcast series that I just listened to recently. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about a guy who uses he trains an AI, like the AI voice models that can talk for you.
Right.
A lot of people use those because people have trouble talking and want to be able to, like, companies exist now that will make your voice using AI. And they're very, very good, very, very convincing. And he took that and hooked it up to basically ChatGPT, like a large language model, and then had it having full interactive conversations with people. And this whole podcast series is all about this, like, all the different things he did with it and the journey he went on with you had it call customer service lines and like talk to his family and friends and stuff like that. So it was just a really interesting podcast. I wish I could remember the name of it.
I mean, here, listen to this. I'm gonna play something real quick here. Let's see what happens. Let me see this.
I eat babies, and I will continue to eat more babies.
Okay. So that's my
Right.
sister Wendy claiming that she eats babies and she will eat more babies if given a chance. That sounded like my sister. Like,
I eat babies, and
I mean, that's 100%. That's her on her crappy mic on a Thursday. Like,
Right.
because that's what it was trained on. So people hear that and they're like, oh, yeah, it's totally Wendy. That kind of thing is fine in the right hands and in with the right intentions. It's those kind of tools that I worry about. It's that, it's art, it's photos, it's that stuff. That, like it or not, like a lot of this research that's being done and the slow perfecting of the technology behind the scenes that's happening is not what's paying the bills. What pays the bills is some dingus on his phone spending $8 a month to make Trump videos that don't exist. Mm-hmm. And that's it will be on the back of those dollars that these companies have some semblance of revenue. That's why it frustrates me. If I haven't explained it very well, then that's my explanation for why I don't like it. Why the whole thing.
The podcast series, I looked it up. It's called Shell Game. You should listen to it. It's it explores those ideas and all from the journalist perspective, thinking like what can we do with this and what are people doing with it. He has a whole episode about people, scammers who are using this technology, doing exactly the same thing he's doing, but to try to take people's money.
Is every episode AI focused or just a couple? Like the episode?
No, it's all about AI. It's a limited series.
Oh, cool.
It's 6-episode series.
It should be. They should call it All Around AI, and then you could sue them.
All around shells.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that wouldn't work.
That wouldn't work at all. Well, anyway, this is fascinating stuff. I suspect that in the future, as big things happen around the AI space, that Bobby will be happy to come on here and talk about it in his science segment.
Or at least AI Bobby will be happy to come and talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Never know.
You'll never know real one.
Exactly.
Well, Bobby, it's always good to talk to you. Tell people about your science podcast and where they can get it.
Our podcast is called All Around Science. That's we talk about science every week. Me and my co-host Maura, science news or whatever we find interesting going on. And this episode that just came out today is about space elevators. So,
it's my favorite '80s game, Space Elevators.
Oh, it sounds like one, doesn't it? I'd play that.
It does. It's your Space Invaders elevator action hybrid game that Brian Dunaway probably has a deluxe version of somewhere.
Sign me up. I'm in.
Cool. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, Bobby, what's 8 + 4?
12.
Okay. All right. It's really Bobby. All right.
It's really Bobby. He got the math right. And if he'd got it wrong, you would have to have said, oh, you're right. Let me do that again.
I was hoping we'd get some avoidance. Of
me saying it was 15 and trying to convince you why I'm right.
It's 15, but really here's why. Yeah.
Also, don't forget, check out the instance later this month. We'll be talking about the continuing adventures of World of Warcraft on the instance 2.0. Me and Bobby. We don't know what date yet. We got to lock that down probably this week, but we'll let you know when you can expect a new episode for the month of October. Bobby, have a great scary month. And
you too.
I hate this new feature in macOS that expands your windows when you don't mean to.
Oh, like if you drag it to the corner.
Yeah, I got to turn that shit off.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, turn that off. I turned it off and I'm using Moom because it gives me more granular control over my window arrangements.
Yeah.
I don't want 50-50 anywhere. I want
you want to control it. You want to pick your own ratios. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So F you, Apple, I'm changing
Still
it.
can't get rid of Bobby is what we're saying.
Yeah. Bobby, have a fantastic week. We'll see you next time. Bye. All right. Let's go now where we always go, which is toward the end of this show, and a quick email to take us out. This is an email that came in from Tyler. His name is Tyler, but he says he's a janitor at the end of this.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Sunshine and Beach. I met a dude on Threads who was upset that his Prime Video suddenly and unexpectedly had ads. I informed him they announced they would be rolling out a tier with ads over a year ago. He said, that's a bait and switch then. Called me a billionaire bootlicker, but the name calling is besides the point.
Billionaire Bootlicker.
Yeah.
Coming to TLC this fall, Billionaire Bootlicker.
Yeah, that's 100% a TLC show.
Bravo, on Bravo.
Yeah, any of those crappy basic cable channels that carry that bullshit. I'd be interested in your thoughts. The ad-free tier still exists. They gave users ample warning of the change. And is this a bait and switch? If a baker offered to sell me a donut for $2 and instead gave me an Oreo with a frosting licked out of it, that would be a bait and switch, correct? Lured me in with the prospect of one thing and then presented me with another thing. If the baker sold me a donut for $2 and says starting next year, $2 donuts come with a punch in the face, I can pay $5 for a punchless donut. That wouldn't be bait and switch, or would it? Thoughts? You're 100% correct.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like what Amazon did either, but that's not bait and switch. It's
not a bait and switch. They gave you warning, and still there's still the availability of the tier you have. You just have to pay a little bit more for it, but they warned you that the price was going to be going up. Wait a minute, this gasoline was $1.15 when I was a kid. Now it's $3. What a bait and switch!
Yeah, to keep it in the zone of the Prime example, Prime Video, bait and switch would have been them doing a full advertised thing where you went to go sign up that said, "You'll never get ads. It's amazing. Sign up here." And then as soon as you signed up, you watch ads, and you have to pay an extra. And then they go, "Oh, you don't like those? Well, it's another $2." That's bait and switch. You can call this bad business or shitty price increase. You can call it a million other things, but it's not bait and switch.
It's not bait and switch.
Yeah,
no.
We're with you, man. The janitors of the world unite. All right.
The guy on Threads lied.
Yeah, he did. People get stupid.
Sure.
We're surrounded by it. That's it for the show. Frogpants.com/TMS for all the things you might ever need. And we're going to leave you now with a song request, probably. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, she's in the tadpole right now. We've been chatting with her. She has had a hard night, so she's needing something to cheer her up, and this is just the thing to do it. Stephanie in a Pets wrote in and said, "Sup, Spurp and Burp." Stephanie in her Pets here requesting a song for my birthday that happened on Saturday, September 28th. I turned 34, so Scott can play the "Let's Party" clip because I'm still below 40.
Yeah, you're still young enough.
Let's party!
Still get the gas at the end, too.
Which is very important. It's been a weird year for me, and I can't say things have been easy, but I'm glad that I have a job that allows me to be in your live TMS chat most mornings. For my birthday song, I would love to hear the best cover you have of Pet Shop Boys' song, "Opportunities, Let's Make Lots of Money." It's one of my favorite 80s songs and always gets me pumped. If a cover of that song doesn't exist, blah, 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 I'm not even going to have to go there. I love you guys. I hope TMS lasts as long as you both are alive. I don't know what I would do without you. Thanks for playing my request. Your friend Stephanie, in all caps, try and stop me.
I just heard that song last night on this local station that when they started, they were all alternative and that music from that era. They were called KJQ at the time. Now they're called X96. And on the weekends, they have what they call Gen X 96, and they play nothing but stuff from that era. And they played two different times within the same hour. They played "Let's Make Lots of Money" from Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, funny. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, nice timing.
See, I don't listen to a lot of terrestrial radio, but for that, I would.
Yeah, that's about the only time we ever hear them is on the weekends, and the rest of the week I have no idea what they're doing. But yeah, it's good stuff. So Stephanie, right there with you, feeling the mood. It's good stuff.
Good. Well, the version you're going to hear comes from 1998, and a guy named Frank Bennett, who's if his name sounds like a combination of Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, well, that's intentional. This guy sounds like a cross between Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, and he does nothing but covers of songs that you would never hear either of those two men cover, including this one right here. From 1998, here is Frank Bennett and "Opportunities, Let's Make Lots of Money."
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
This nightmare will never end.
Well, not with that attitude, it won't. Jeez.
Well, Stephanie, hope you had an awesome birthday.